Hello, everyone. Just a quick announcement. When I first started the podcast, I decided on the name the Mexisoul podcast because I was primarily interviewing guests that have been to the retreats. But then I realized we were talking about something deeper. These experiences all point back to one core truth. They help us remember who we are. So, with that said, I decided to change the name of the podcast to the Remember Who You Are podcast because that's what this journey is all about. So, in this episode, we do discuss a controversial medical issue, but I just want to make a disclaimer that we do not give medical advice. And the purpose of the episode really is to speak about the plant medicine experience itself. So, I hope these stories continue to inform and inspire you, and enjoy the show. Hello, I'm Ruger Hebert. Welcome to the Mexisoul podcast, where we talk about transformative plant medicine experiences. I'm here with a guest today, a very special guest, and this is a live episode. Her name is Julie Peck. She's an environmental lawyer, yoga, meditation practitioner, and I would say like a seeker. Julie, would you like to give us kind of an introduction of yourself?
Yeah, so first, thank you so much for inviting me here and for the work you do. I think it's incredibly important for individuals such as myself and hopefully others that you can reach through this podcast. I came to Mexisoul for the first time last year in October for the October retreat, and that was my first experience with plant medicine. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, I drank a little bit, but I'm not a huge drinker. I have a little bit of a history of recreational drug use, but nothing substantial. And I really, this was a whole new world for me. No hard drug experience whatsoever. And so it felt like a bit of a risk coming here, but I knew I had a friend who had previously attended one of your retreats, and he had nothing but profound things to say about the experience he had. Mm-hmm. And so I was intrigued. And I also had a health issue that I was struggling to figure out how to heal. And so my curiosity and the perfect timing where I was medically brought me in October to Mexisoul. So that's how I came here. A little bit more about me personally is as you mentioned, I'm a lawyer. That's my profession. And on the side, or more importantly than on the side, that diminishes it, I'm a yoga practitioner. I meditate regularly, daily. And I have that is how I first connected to the types of things that plant medicine also connects you to, was through those practices.
So this is something that was a bit outside of your normal comfort zone?
Totally, yeah. So I had read about it intellectually. Michael Pollan has a great book, bridging the sort of the layman's and experienced people's gap between what plant medicine is and how it affects us. Mm-hmm. So I'd read that book. I had read a few things here and there. I Googled it, and there's a lot on Google that's... my mom also Googled it, and she was nervous about me coming too. But very much I was a novice, a noob coming up here. Yeah.
Well, I'll say too that we try to kind of look at it as more of like a medicine experience, yes, rather than the drug word. But it's also something too that that is something that a lot of people do question. Like, you're coming to take a psychedelic substance, mm-hmm. But even like, for example, the shaman we're working with, he's never even drank or anything, and then he got into it through ayahuasca. So
it's an utterly different experience. And that's one of the things that I was shocked after experiencing ayahuasca for the first time. It is nothing like getting high. It's nothing like drinking. It's an experience all in its own category.
Yeah.
I think another, it's an illegal substance, and that scares people away too. And that was something that I thought about quite a bit. Why is it illegal? I looked into why it's illegal, and is that a reason not to do it? I estimated, I didn't think it was a reason not to do it. I believe the only reason it's still, not the only reason, but one of the primary reason why it's scheduled as a class 1 substance, in the United States at least, is because its results are unpredictable. And so it may not get approved as long as it can't be scientifically studied. So I did a little bit of research into that, but that's something that scares people off as well.
Right. And in Mexico, it's a little bit of a gray area. It's something that's never been declared legal or never been declared illegal, but there is a provision in Mexican law that says that psychedelic substances can be used for ceremonial or indigenous purposes. So that's why we're able to do what we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I like to do is kind of discuss going through, what things were kind of like beforehand, before you decided to do this, and then speaking about the experience itself, and then kind of discussing what shifted afterwards. So other than your friend who kind of suggested this, what was kind of the precursors that led you to try this in the first place?
I was on a healing journey, a healing struggle. So I was diagnosed with a brain injury from the COVID vaccine by multiple doctors. And I've, since about April of last year, so over the course of 6 to 8 months, I saw a lot of doctors, tried a lot of different experimental treatments in the Western medical system, a neurologist, pain specialists, lots of doctors. None of the treatments that I was offered, provided, worked, and I was really struggling with the brain issue, the neurological issues I was having, and the symptoms were primarily headaches, 4 different types of headaches, numbness on the right side of my body. I had to become left-handed. A lot of dizziness, a lot of symptoms that become relevant once we talk about the post-ayahuasca trip, because those symptoms changed dramatically before and after the medicine in October.
So you'd been struggling for a while on like a physical level.
For 3 years. So initially I had stroke-like symptoms after I got the shot, the second shot. Pfizer was the shot that I took. It looked like I was having a stroke. I went to the ER. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't diagnose at that time what was happening. For 3 years, I managed my symptoms by managing my environment and the triggers, and by doing everything I could to feel stable and feel normal while still operating in an environment that had escalators and elevators, which made me dizzy, which had screens, which gave me headaches. Those are the 2 main things I had to control in my environment. So I managed my symptoms for about 3 years, and then I had some sort of relapse back in April of last year. And that relapse made it difficult to think. It gave me migraines, debilitating headaches, things, for whatever reason, no one understands why. My doctors don't understand why. It's not being studied. For whatever reason, I had some sort of relapse that took me back to the state I was in when I first got the shot. And so that was the point at which I started seeking solutions and seeking treatments. And I went through the Western medical system first, the American medical system, with my insurance, and ran the gamut of doctors there. And then I was like, this isn't working. I'm going to have to start a new life, do something that's not being a lawyer, because I couldn't think and use computers. And that's what took me down to my parents in Arizona. And that's when I talked to my friend, and I was advised against taking plant medicine with a brain injury, which is most closely compared to a TBI, a traumatic brain injury. I was advised to not do it. And so I went against that advice because I didn't know what else to do.
So as far as like the brain injury, they had like diagnosed that they had seen traumatic. It was very comparative to a traumatic.
It looked
brain
like a
injury.
TBI. They put me in the category of what are the treatments for TBI patients? Let's try those treatments. And those treatments weren't working. And I mean, there's not much you can do with TBIs either besides time and healing. And sometimes you can find something to make the pain, the inflammation reduce. But TBIs are a difficult thing medically to deal with.
So you had brain inflammation and were suffering from migraines at a regular basis, or
Yes.
cluster type headaches?
Yeah. Like daily headaches is what I had in the summer of last year before I came here.
So I'm curious, like given the kind of condition and state you're in, like what was your kind of outlook on life, perceptions of things with just viewpoints? Because I imagine some of that could be a little bit bleak given the situation. I can resonate with the feeling of hopelessness that can bring you to do something that is very much out of your comfort zone.
I dipped into periods of darkness when you set your life up to be a lawyer and then you have a brain injury that wasn't even on my radar as a possibility. I was very healthy. I take care of myself very well. I was a runner in college.
Mm-hmm.
That was never, I don't have a personal history or familiar history of neurological issues. So that wasn't on my radar. So I dipped into dark times.
Mm-hmm.
But what got me to a good place was meditation. And meditation was something I could do irrespective of headaches.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that made headaches subside, was reducing my cognition, reducing my brain activity, getting my brain to a more peaceful state, made the headaches go away. So that's when I found meditation. And through my meditation experiences, that's when I developed a subtle awareness of what more there is than just this physical reality, which is some of the energies that are around us. You can
Mm-hmm.
touch into that on a very subtle level when your brain is quiet in meditation. So that helped me.
Okay, so you use meditation to kind of as a way to cope from the headaches, and then also just as a byproduct, it came to this kind of more self-awareness, self-discovery.
Yeah, and that was one of the beautiful parts of my health issues and my health journey, was my body forced me to meditate, but then when I did meditate, I started experiencing the benefits of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that unlocked for me was art. I had time and space, both physically and mentally. You need space for creativity to come through you. I started painting, writing poetry, and engaging that part of my brain, which was entirely unaffected. And by engaging that part of my brain, I started to touch into a higher power, something that I later had an experience in plant medicine as the divine.
Okay, well, let's move on and talk about that. Okay. So, at what point did you decide, like, I'm going to do this?
A week before the
retreat started?
Yes.
Wow.
It was not a planned, calculated decision. At that point, my intuition was very strong because of all the meditation, because all the having to say no to doctors and medications that I knew weren't right for my body. I got a clear signal from my intuition that it was the right thing to do. And so it was a week before. It wasn't calculated. I didn't plan it out, but it felt right.
Yeah.
And so I did it.
Okay. Can you tell me kind of like what the feelings or thoughts were maybe before you went into this, but when you were here?
When I got here, the first feeling I had was I felt the love. There's a lot of love. People here live from their heart space, and you can feel that immediately. It was a beautiful place to step into. And that's a testament to you, Humberto, the shaman, the musicians who are here, the staff, the volunteers, everyone who makes La Finca. There's a beauty, there's an energy of love in the place. So that was my very first experience. And that set the stage for me to feel like I could open up, and any fear that I might have had, any nervousness at the newness of this, at the illegality of it in the United States, any nervousness went away because of this environment, this safe container that La Finca is.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. You do a great job.
Appreciate it. Well, let's get into the experience then.
Yeah.
I mean, we can kind of go with however you'd like to start or however that comes up with. I mean, I love hearing about the feelings, the visual aspects, what that was like.
So my first ceremony was incredibly profound. Nothing like my wildest dreams could have ever expected or anticipated. So the music started, and I think it's helpful to divide this up into physically what happened and then spiritually what happened, just to try to make sense of it, because it is difficult to articulate these experiences. So physically, I didn't purge, most likely because we did Kambo in the beginning of the day, and so when I took ayahuasca, I had no purging.
So Kambo, I'm guessing, did make you purge, though.
Yes, it did.
Yes.
And that was delightful. It actually does feel really nice once you do purge. That after feeling is nice. But the ayahuasca ceremony itself.
And I'll give, for our listeners, I'll give a
Yeah.
little bit of a description of Kambo. So, Kambo is something that is applied subdermally through the skin. It comes from a frog from the rainforest. It's applied subdermally through the skin. And then what its purpose is, on a physical level, it rapidly speeds up your own body's detoxification process and helps you purge and purge out things that need to come out. And then it also is good preparation for ayahuasca ceremonies. And then on like a physical and energetic level, it can also help open up and release some of the things you have stored in your body.
Yeah, and that's one thing that was for me, at least, and my parents, a little bit difficult to read about, was the purging process, because my American sensibilities are not used to that. Purging is just not a thing. But that felt, I mean, you throw up, and then it's over, and then there is that clarity, and that prepares you for the medicine. So that was an important process.
Yeah, well, sensibility-wise, I mean, you're coming to Mexico, we're burning you with the stick.
Oh yeah, I showed my parents the
applying
dots.
frog poison. And
Yes.
that's something that's like way
It
out of...
sounds wild.
Mean, it does sound wild.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for three years now, and I've seen the hugely positive benefits from it, but to describe it to someone sounds crazy.
Yeah, totally.
But,
Good luck on that.
yeah. All right, so you had this purgative process with Kambo that kind of prepared you for this physically. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to go into the first ceremony.
I didn't know what to expect. I showed up open and waiting to see what happened. Mm-hmm. So we took the rapé. Is that how you pronounce it? Mm-hmm. And that's a very unique, I don't know how to describe how rapé feels. But that was a precursor to the ayahuasca. And the ayahuasca is what had an effect. That's what started working. So physically, what happened is my eyes were shut almost immediately, and they stayed shut for the duration of the ceremony, which for me was about 10 hours at the medicine.
So almost the whole time.
They were completely shut. I couldn't open them. And I also didn't try to open them. I didn't try to force them open. My body shut them, and I knew they needed to stay shut, and so they were shut. I didn't even think about it until I tried to open them at the end. I felt different physical sensations in my body as the medicine worked with me and moved through me. And those sensations correlated with the visions and the symbolic understandings I was getting. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I would be very, very, very cold. And that would be simultaneous with the medicine showing me images of the divine feminine left out in the cold. Sometimes I would be shaking and I'd feel afraid and scared. And that was also consistent with what was going on at the higher level of my soul being a little bit lost in the vast cosmos that is not this grounded reality. So the physical sensations that I experienced corresponded, and they added to, and they were sort of their own intelligence that told the story of the journey of the plant medicine.
From a visual perspective, although, I mean, visual like in the mind's eye?
Visual as in like a painting in your head. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my eyes were closed the entire time, so nothing was coming in through my eyeballs.
Right.
But the entire thing was visual, as well as you can feel with the medicine. I could feel energy as like a tangible texture.
Yeah.
And so I could feel and see the energy that was acting on me. But it was see in terms of my mind's eye, not like my third eye, yogis call it, your third eye.
Or almost like a dream kind of
like
state,
a lucid dream. Yeah.
Yeah.
But different, though. I don't quite know how to articulate the difference, but it feels different. It's more profound. It's more connected. It's more real. Mm-hmm. I also sang a lot.
Yes. With your eyes closed.
With my eyes closed. Yes, and I am not the type of person to sing in front of a group. I was a very shy child. I've never sang besides in the shower and in the car. But what happened with the medicine was she moved my mouth, and it was a clear message to start using my voice. And she moved my mouth until I made a noise, and then she turned the noise into a song. And she showed me which notes to hit, like energetically. It was like, hit this note, hit this note, hit this note. And I surrendered into that, and my voice was pulled up and out of me. And I started singing and singing and singing.
I actually remember that because, by the way, you can sing. You can actually sing, because I remember wondering, like, what musician is that? Because we have live music during the ceremonies, and I remember because I was in the room for a while when that was happening.
And that was totally wild for me because I have no history of singing. I don't like being in front of people and talking, but that was an essential part of my journey.
Yeah.
And that was related to using my voice and stepping into my power as a feminine. As a divine feminine. And the voice is essential to that, and it's essential to the work that I continue to do post-ceremony. I was also fully conscious the entire time, which is, you're fully conscious, you don't remember. I was fully conscious, I didn't remember everything, I can only speak for myself. But the entire time you are there, the essential part of you, the part of me that is not my body, is aware and involved. My soul was engaged the entire time.
Yeah.
Which is a really intriguing part. It's not like drinking, where your awareness kind of goes down, it's fuzzy, nothing at all like drinking. It's a hypersensitivity, a hyper-awareness, a hyper-consciousness, an expanded consciousness that you can feel.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would say that this is something that is a expansion of consciousness versus like the lowering of consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
But, so tell me about, too, something that I found a huge benefit from just doing this is realizing that consciousness exists. It's something that is within us. That was something for me that was just like mind-blowing.
Yeah, I can't not believe in the divine after that experience. And I've done the work with meditation after that experience to maintain my connection with the divine, because it's such a beautiful, empowering connection that the plant medicine showed me, and now I have in my daily life because of that connection during those ceremonies.
Yeah, beautiful. Cool. All right, well, that was more of the physical part of things. So do you want to start getting into, let's see, it was physical? Did you say physical, mental, and spiritual?
I have a hard time with distinguishing between mental and spiritual.
Okay.
Because there's such a blurred line.
Sure.
Because mentally, my normal waking brain was not functioning. I was not in control. Like, my ego was offline, which is one of the beautiful parts of this process, is your normal thought patterns go away.
Yeah.
And you get to exist in a state apart from the brain that we identify as ourselves, apart from the personality, apart from that ego that was offline. So mentally, I was offline.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Then, did you when you took your first ceremony, did you connect pretty fast, or was there a really?
I connected really fast, and I think that's a testament to my meditation and yoga practices, because it's a familiar feeling of quieting the mind and connecting. And I think that's what made it so easy, because some people do struggle with that.
I do. I still sometimes do.
Well, maybe we can meditate together and do breath work together.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Okay. And so I think before getting into the spiritual symbolic stuff, physically what happened after the ceremony is my brain injury was 95% healed. It's now been 3 months. I haven't had a single headache since before the ayahuasca ceremonies in October, which is incredible.
Yeah.
My dizziness went away entirely too. I'm now equally dominant. I'm using my right hand again, and I'm equally dominant in both left and right hands. And the me before and after ayahuasca is a much more physically healthy me. And that's due to the physical aspects that the medicine worked on me, but that can't be separated from the soul aspects, and those two are combined. And if I ignored the soul aspects, then I think it's possible my symptoms would come back. Because I say 95% because I can still feel an underlying, there's still a little something there.
Yeah.
And if I don't stay in alignment with my path and my purpose, which is what the medicine put me on the track of, if I don't stay in alignment with that, I believe my symptoms will come back. So the spoiler alert is the really positive and remarkable result was that physically healing occurred, and I don't get dizzy at all anymore. So that symptom went away entirely. The right-handed issues went away entirely. The headaches went away. I can just feel the underlying something still there. So spiritually what happened was a profound elucidation of what my life has been to date, of an understanding. The medicine connected dots of my childhood, my past. It became very clear to me that I chose my parents. I chose the stressors that I had as a child in order to build the coping mechanisms that would build the skills that I would need later in life.
Wow.
I saw, and so the medicine, I experienced the medicine as a feminine consciousness, and I'm not sure whether the medicine itself is a feminine consciousness or if the medicine opened up channels for me to tap into the divine feminine. I'm not sure, but my felt experience was a divine feminine was in me and with me, and so that's why I say she when I talk about the medicine. And so she took me through my life, and this was visually in my head, like a painting, like art. She showed me things in my life and sort of dispelled the doubt, any doubt that I had had about what is this experience? Is this real? Is it like marijuana? Is it like getting high? No, it's real work at the soul level, and it's an intelligence that is deeper and higher and transcendent. And so that intelligence is what showed me parts of my life and why I chose things. And she took me to the present, and that's when the lens of the divine feminine and the divine masculine came over my vision, my sight. She took me through a rebirthing ceremony, and that's where the singing starts coming in. As I was dying as my old self to be reborn anew, my rebirthing process was a process of incrementally using my voice, making it louder and louder, and then visually what was happening while my voice was coming out of me, and it was sort of being enticed out of me with the music, like the medicine works with the music and with the souls in the room to create this beautiful orchestra of healing. And the musicians are tapped in too. And so the medicine was working with me in my soul journey. And visually, I was experiencing a ceremony inside my head of myself, my feminine self, being rebirthed as this beautiful, divine, white fire being. And it was there was dancing involved, and I sang, I more fully embodied my voice throughout this process of opening myself and stepping into that divine feminine energy. And it was a beautiful process, and it was incredibly profound, and that changed me fundamentally, or it allowed me to step into a power that had previously lied dormant in me.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I found a new power, and that power has been with me since, and I intentionally stay in that power.
So I'm curious, this is just the question I thought of while you're describing your experience. Do you think that some of your symptoms, it triggered when something happened with Western medicine? And if I had to compare the two things, I would say like Western medicine is where it's like 100% on the masculine side, and this is like on the more on the feminine energy side. Do you think some of like what you were experiencing was maybe like even before you came to the retreat that you had been suppressing some of the feminine aspects for a while, and then maybe like I don't know, like finally basically submitting to the COVID vaccine was enough that it was like a breaking point you had completely like lost the feminine essence of what was going on, and that was why some of the headaches and the things were manifesting.
That's precisely what happened. That's exactly the understanding that I now have of why I got the injury in the first place and what I need to do to continue to ensure it doesn't come back, what I need to do in my healing journey post-ceremony. So the understanding that I got was that throughout my life up until this point, I've been repressing and suppressing my divine feminine. The divine feminine, symbolically, left side of your body, fluid thinking, art, poetry, receptivity. Intuition, which is a type of wisdom that's underrated or underaccepted, underappreciated in the Western culture that we live in. And medically, in particular, as you alluded to, there's no role for intuition. At least in my experience as a patient, it was beside the point with most of my doctors, not all of them, but most of them, it was beside the point if my intuition thought that, something with my throat was connected to something with my headache. Like, it's not medically supportable, there's not an evidence, a scientific study that was conducted, therefore it's irrelevant what my intuition is. So intuition is a big part of what I've suppressed and what many women have been suppressing, and what the culture we live in doesn't provide a safe space for the expression of. And so I got an understanding that what's happening in my body at the physical level is reflective of what's happening culturally at a wider scale. And when I heal myself and my body, that will give me the knowledge and tools to help heal the broader culture, more people than just myself in this respect, in the rebalancing of the masculine and the feminine.
Right.
And so, in particular, the part of my feminine that had been suppressed in relation to the vaccine was the submission, the unquestioning submission to external authority. And I did have a small voice inside of me at that time, my intuition saying, I don't need this. I don't think my body needs it. I was healthy, young. I was working for a federal judge at the time. And so I was surrounded by it was being pushed by the federal government. And the culture I was in was very pro-vaccine, pro-get it. And I had no reason to not get it. And so I used my analytical brain to say, I have no evidence against the contrary, that there's no indication that this will affect me adversely. I'm a very healthy person. I don't get sick. And so I reasoned my way into getting it. And the small voice in my body that said, I don't need it, don't get it, went away. And at that time, I also I believe as a lawyer, I was trained to think in logic and reason, and the law is it's the written word, it's logic and reason is God, was God. And so that was the understanding that I got of why specifically the vaccine was a tipping point for my personal experience. And I think it's important to acknowledge that multiple truths can coexist when we're talking about spiritual aspects of a person and physical aspects of the person. I think it can be both equally true that physically my body had a response to the substance that was injected into me, and spiritually there's a way to understand it and heal from it that is completely separated, at least intellectually it's separated from the physical aspect. And the physical aspect is merely symbolic. It doesn't match up with medicine and science.
Yeah.
Those truths are equally true, but they don't exist they're not true in the same worlds, but they're equally true. So I think it's important to acknowledge multiple truths are at play here.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, balancing that masculine and feminine dynamic is something too that I still need to work on, because to tell you the truth, I'm way more on the other side, the masculine side. Yeah. One, being male, but two, just like I do resonate more with that energy, and it's helped me It's helped me create this. It's helped me create this podcast. It's helped me create the Mexisoul. It's where a lot of my ability to implement structure and put in procedures and make everything like systemized and flow well. So I really appreciate that. But it also, I think for me too, it's like this second element too, where I've used logic and reasoning and math and science my entire life. And I think ultimately, like, finding the balance for me between both of those, it's almost like if I can get to the point where I have a balance between both of those, of the logic and the intuition, letting go of the mind, relying more on intuition, I mean, I could be like a superhero.
Yeah, easier said than done. Yeah, and that is the goal, is integration. A healthy feminine, a healthy masculine, get them into balance, because the shadow sides of each are what we see. Because in our culture, it's the unhealthy masculine that's in power, and it's the feminine that's suppressed. And when the feminine is suppressed, it's like one of those balls that you squeeze and it pops out over here. You start to see the parts of the feminine that are denigrated, that are the shadow side, that are women. And it's not a gender thing. It's principles, feminine and masculine principles. Every one of us, as you alluded to, we all have masculine and feminine energies inside of us. And so you make a great point with the masculine. The healthy masculine is a container. It's directionality. It's getting things done. It's staying organized. It's staying grounded in this physical reality. And it's creating the structure so that way the feminine can blossom and bloom. And the feminine is fluid. The feminine fills a container. The feminine needs a safe space to be rooted. And that's when the feminine really shines in all of her beauty and elegance. And the healthy feminine can only shine, though, with a healthy masculine. And we are out of balance because we don't have that healthy masculine. We're too much into our masculines.
Have you ever heard of the legend of the eagle and the condor?
Tell me about it.
Okay, I'll briefly discuss it.
Okay.
So, for a lot of humanity, it was more with the feminine. For, it was storytelling and intuition and more shamanism, things like that, right?
So it was transmitted.
Right. So
orally.
so from like, let's say you're 0 to like around the 1400s, like the whole approach to like healing and spirituality and medicine was more on the feminine side.
Yeah.
So there was this prophecy. It was a prophecy. That's the word I was looking for. Prophecy of the eagle and the condor, and it came. I'm not entirely sure what group it came from. It might have been the Toltecs, but around 1400, there was a prophecy, and it foresaw that feminine was going to be at an end for a period of about 500 years, which is interesting because it's and that represented like South America, and so that was the condor, and that was going to be almost to the point where it'd be crushed. And for 500 years, which is basically from like 1500 to 2000, it would be Western. It'd be the eagle that would rule. And if you look at it, you can represent the eagle as like the 100% masculine in Western medicine. And then the prophecy was that, it'd be 500 years of the eagle ruling. But then after that, the 500 years would be that in order for us to advance as humans in consciousness, it would have to be a merging of the two, of the eagle and the condor.
Yeah, that's happening. I actually haven't heard that story, but I can feel and I know that's 100% what's happening.
Yeah. So we just need to wait another 480 years to have the merging and the next level of consciousness. But I do think it's kind of that is happening now, and it's on the forefront.
And we're in a difficult transition period. There's a lot of pain, a lot of turbulence, a lot of disbelief, a lot of resistance, and I think we only have more painful times ahead because people are going to be resistant because it's leaving their zone of comfort. It's leaving what they know. It's leaving.
But I do think something has to break, and I think eventually they're gonna. I've heard of that analogy. There's actually another retreat center called the Eagle and the Condor, and they're approaching medicine from that angle. But was there anything else you would like to kind of mention or discuss with specifically to your ceremony?
Yeah, I think still in the vein of masculine and feminine, I think why my divine feminine felt safe enough to come out, because the divine feminine needs to feel safe, and the masculine is the container, is because the shaman and the musicians provided that very firm, very safe, very warm container. And that's something that I particularly appreciate about La Finca. I've read and done other research and asked people about other like more traditional, is how they've said it, more traditional ceremonies in Peru that do something different with the music. I don't know what it is, so I can't talk about it. But I do know that the musical experience and the container that was created here was essential to my divine feminine power feeling comfortable enough to step out. And with the singing too, like I can't go anywhere and start singing.
Yeah.
And so the fact that that was an environment that not only provided support for that, but brought that out of me was incredible. And that's an example of a beautiful interplay of the masculine providing a support, a foundation for the feminine to just expand.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So you mentioned to me earlier, it kind of felt like a rebirth. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think that's another example of the spiritual and the physical operating in tandem. So I think what happened is physically I was undergoing a rewiring, a neurological rewiring. And then what I was experiencing spiritually was a rebirth. And so my body was in a sense being reborn, and spiritually I was stepping into a new version of me. The part of me that if I stay embodied in that version of myself, I won't go back to the old pain, the old issues that I had when I wasn't in that version of myself. And that's the divine feminine.
Yeah.
And so the rebirthing ceremony was a process of me, as I said, using my voice to step into my power and to feel the feminine energy coursing through me. Once that channel was open and the energy coursed through me, that was the work of that night. And that was the incredible profundity of that night. Was that power alive inside of me. I was aware of it, and it became clear to me that if I suppress that power again, then my medical issues will come back. So as long as I stayed true to that, and I have, in the work since then, I've very intentionally made time for art, made time for meditation, been softer in how I interact with people. I've taken the feminine qualities and used my logical brain. The masculine works with the feminine to ensure that I have space for the feminine in my life. And that was the cure for me, and that continues to be the cure, is that work the medicine did plus the work I continue to do following the medicine.
Okay, anything else you want to mention from that night? I mean, sometimes it comes in waves or images or things don't always make sense, but...
Yeah, and part of it, I'm still processing much of it, and still working with many of the images I received. But I did see two other things. One was I experienced visually the energetic field that's all around us, and that vacillated between being a rather scary experience, because my soul is out of my body and it's infinitely expansive, and that's scary to the body to feel disconnected from the soul, but it was also beautiful and deeply touching because it's so real. It's more real than this physical reality that our brain organizes so we can operate in this world. So I got a glimpse of that, which was really neat, and that stayed with me. And in my meditations, I try to access that again. It's there, it's very subtle, but it's there all around us all the time. And the second was an image of how I might take this personal work I'm doing and continue to do and use that to help more than just me. And I got an image of many points of light, and those were souls against a backdrop of black, and that was the cosmos. And these souls were all going in random directions collectively, and their light was very bright, but it was obscured, and it was clear to me that that covering was things other than love. It's when we act from fear, ignorance, greed, thought patterns, coping mechanisms, when we live unthinkingly, our lights are covered up. The lights are still there, but they're covered up, and there's a loss of directionality.
Yeah.
And that's what we're experiencing on a collective level, is we've gotten disconnected from our feminine, from the beauty in life, from love. There's so much love if only we open ourselves to the love.
We're the ones blocking it.
We're the ones blocking it. And if we do the work to unblock it, there's a beautiful future that awaits. And part of my work and part of my purpose in my life, the reason why I incarnated here, is to help the collective do that work. First, I have to help myself figure it out in my own microcosm of my body and the masculine and feminine, and in my interpersonal relationships too. And then once I do that work, I will have the tools I need to apply it to more than just my immediate circle. And that's how I can help all of the lost souls, including myself, not be so lost and reconnect with the divine.
Yeah.
And the divine is masculine and feminine. So once we unsuppress the feminine, balance out the masculine, that's when integration happens. And that's when we connect back to the divine and live a more beautiful, glorious life. So that was an awesome image that I got. And that's something that motivates me.
Cool. Well, that's kind of a good segue into the last part, is how has life been like for you after this experience?
Integration is work. It's the first wave of integration was this real?
Yeah.
Is this real or not real? Was it all a dream? The doubt is real, and the doubt can sever the connection to the divine. And that's another lesson I've learned post-ceremony, is how to, well, first I had to sit with myself and meditate and tap back into that energy. And once I tap back into that energy, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real, it's there. We're not aware of it all the time, but we can be if we do the work, the meditation work to get into it. And so I very consciously meditated every morning, woke up early, made the time to connect, to keep that connection while it was still fresh. I think that's very important. I think if I took 2 months off back into a regular life, and then I tried to look back on this experience, it would feel not real. And so I did that work, and concurrently I started looking at my world through the masculine and feminine lens. And this isn't the first time I've heard of these concepts. It's been a part of all of my life, is feeling this energy, stepping out of it, inhabiting my masculine. Going to law school is a very masculine endeavor. Being a lawyer is very masculine. And so I've had this internal sense of imbalance. Now I put words to it. And then my work post-ceremony was actually applying that. And that's the hard part.
Yeah.
And that's looking at my internal relationship, my interpersonal relationships. Where am I myself stepping into my masculine and holding space for the feminine? And am I holding space for my own feminine? Where am I feeling a distortion of the masculine that's causing my feminine to close up? Doing the more rational, analytical work of identifying those different areas in my life, the different relationships where I had work to do to improve my own view of the masculine. Yeah. Because that's a lot of it, is the divine feminine needs a healthy masculine. And internally, I need to improve my relationship with the right side of my body, which was the side of my body that was affected, that looked like I was having a stroke. By improving my relationship with the masculine, I improve the health of the right side of my body. So that's been my work, is doing that more spiritual, psychoanalytical work with the lens of the masculine and feminine. And how can I rebalance that in my own very personal life?
Yeah. Wow.
Another thing that the medicine shared was to teach myself guitar. Yeah. That also came out of the blue, much like the singing. I love music.
You could combine the two at some point.
Yes, that's my intent. Teaching myself the guitar is a more arduous process than I would like. But in the past 3 months, I got a guitar, and I've been teaching myself the guitar. And that's been a beautiful way to connect with the divine feminine. And that has I can see the changes starting to happen in my energy, who I am, my personality from that alone. It's too soon to really have a full perspective on that, but that was another intriguing thing that happened post-ceremony.
The question I want to ask is, are you still working as a lawyer?
So I intend to start working again as a lawyer now that my brain's back online. I've done my own test. I've read a bunch of material since then. I'm now getting back up to speed on what happened since I had to take time off of work because of my health. So my intent is to go back to Alaska, which is where I live, and continue working as a lawyer, resuming my old position as an assistant attorney general. So yes.
Cool.
And thank you for that, and thank you for your help in getting me there, because that was a huge, dark part of my life for a little bit, was having to give up the idea of being a lawyer because of my health.
Yeah. Wow. Sounds like it's been, just an incredible process with balance, trust, letting go, surrendering.
Yes. And it's just begun. I know there's so much more ahead. I can feel that there's so much more ahead. And doing this work now, the path only lights up one step at a time.
Right.
And doing this work now is setting.
Sometimes it's like the Indiana Jones movie where you have to just step out into the
complete darkness. Yeah. Many times it feels like that. It's hard to plan when you surrender yourself completely to God, to the divine. You can't plan. I mean, you can plan if it feels right and if that's your path is planning, but it's hard to plan, and that's something you just have to surrender to.
Yeah.
Which is hard.
Awesome. Well, awesome. I appreciate you sharing your story so much. I think it's very powerful for people that are also going through some of these things. I think there is some awakening in the world right now, and hopefully it doesn't take 500 years, but overall, a question that I ask everyone that's on the podcast is, what would you suggest for someone who's either interested or curious or kind of on the fence about trying a plant medicine experience?
Ask your intuition. Tap into your intuition if you haven't already. That's a good skill to develop. And make sure your body is in alignment, your soul's in alignment. I don't know if plant medicine is right for everyone. It was right for me. It continues to be right for me. It's right for many people. I can only speak to my own experience, though, which is that my intuition is what clearly gave me the green light to do this.
Yeah. Something I believe is that the plant is ready for anybody, but not everybody's ready for the plant.
I like that.
That takes some process and some work, and I do think it is definitely something that somebody should be ready for, but overall, it's ready for you.
Those are wise words, Ruger.
Thank you.